What up, Magnetites? Welcome back. So, today we're going to talk about the all-important should you buy the new release of Persona 3 portable version. Remember, it's not FES. The Persona 3 portable version on, newer consoles. So, my answer is not too complicated. It kind of comes down to a couple things. One, are you a fan of the PSP version? If so, then yes. Two, are you a fan of the FES version? Then the answer is, do you have a PS2? If not, then yes. Then the last version of this question is, do you want to experience Persona 3 and maybe you've only played 4 and 5? Then the answer is also yes. I mean, here's the thing. From what I've seen, the audio is a little bit compressed, it seems. Almost like they ripped it straight from the PSP. The visuals seem fine. I'd say they're enhanced for the most part. The gameplay excuse me, is exactly the same. And I mean, you should buy this game unless you don't really care for it. You've played it before. You don't really want to play it again. I mean, if you've played the PSP or the PS2 version, then it really just comes down to, do you still have it, or are you still a fan? I can understand fully if you have a PSP and you want to play this on full screen TV and everything, then it makes perfect sense to get this game. But if you're one of those people that wasn't a big fan of Persona 3, then no, there's no reason to buy it. If you were expecting them to do anything special, which is kind of disappointing that they didn't, but I don't think there's any added content at all. I mean, you're not going to be in a situation where you've missed out on a new ending or a new boss or some sort of new abilities. I mean, it's just same game. Do you want the same game? If you never... So it's pretty easy. I would love to stretch this out to 10 minutes, but I don't really know how I can. It's so simplistic to say, yes, I want to play this game. No, I don't want to play this game. And that's really how you decide whether or not you want to play it again. I would recommend this. If you've never played it before, I think Persona 3 is one of the better games in Persona, in a lot of ways. That's not saying there are bad games in Persona. I just find 3 to be a good culmination of kind of what they left behind with 1 and 2 and all the stuff they introduced with 4 and 5. It's kind of a good middle ground. The story reminds you a little bit more of the darker edginess that came from 2 and 1, and yet the gameplay is very much social link focused, and but at least they brought over like the combination attacks and things like that, fusion spells and all that. So I would put it this way. I think it's a good game. So if you've never played it before, you should play it. I actually prefer the FES version. Reason being is that the tactics system that most people hate, I kind of enjoy, because it adds like a layer of difficulty in some ways that you, in frustration, that you wouldn't get with the PSP version. It's kind of fun, and it's what makes Persona 3 a little bit different than the rest of the entries, because 3, 4, and 5, for the most part, have a lot of similarities, especially I'm talking gameplay-wise. So it's really fun to kind of have something that changes it up a bit. That being said, fully understand if you're not a fan of that, and then the PSP version is really the way to go anyway. FES is prettier. And I don't mean like the resolution on the exact graphics, but it gives you an opportunity to kind of walk around, have a little bit more control of your actual character instead of just kind of having that like graphic novel graphic novel. I don't even remember what it's called, but that version where you just kind of click on a location and you go, a little bit like less money put into the game kind of style. This is a little bit more reticent of like the old school versions where you actually can see what you're doing. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the FES's layout. It's a lot more real and it feels more UI intuitive for your control, but yet at the same time, I can't say that the PSP version is like ridiculously underdeveloped or anything. It's just a little bit different. Again, it's all a matter of what you like. I would say this, the gameplay overall is a lot of fun. The story is pretty good. Here's the thing with PSP though. You do get the female option with a slightly different story, and you know, the female protagonist kind of changes things up a bit. So if you have played this game a lot, say you played FES back in the day, but you have never played the PSP version, I would say that you're a good candidate to play this game and try out the female protagonist. It's not like it's worlds different, but it's definitely a different story, and it kind of gives you a reason to replay the game if you haven't played it in years. So if you liked it the first time around, that's a good way to enjoy something that's slightly different. Now, that being said, I wouldn't get to the point of where it's like, it's not worlds different. So don't expect like a completely new game. But it definitely is, it gives you reason to replay the game. So I would have to say that if you're looking for anything super special with this port, and you've played every version of Persona 3, that's not, this is not really worth your money. I wouldn't go and buy this if you have your PS2 and PSP. But if your PS2 is old and breaking down, or your PSP is just annoying to look at on a small screen and nobody wants to get a PS TV. I don't even know if PS TV works with PSP. Maybe it's just Vita. In that aspect, not worth it. And, this is really just kind of it's a money grab, obviously. But it's a worthwhile money grab for those who don't have the opportunity to play this game. It's a really good game. People should give it a shot. And I see that like Gnarly and other people have kind of rated it similarly in this way, that it's it's a game that's worth playing, but yet not necessarily worth buying if you already have it, because in some ways they've screwed up things like the sound compression and things like that. But they also did that with Nocturne. I don't know if that's just that they're rushing it and they're lazy, or if it's actually something that's maybe difficult to carry over. That I don't know. These are originally PS2 games. That being said, I recommend that you give it a shot if you have never played it. If your first entry into the game is Persona 5, be prepared for basically a slightly more interesting Mementos to be your main dungeon. This is a dungeon crawler in its, most basic terms. This is not going to be as thought out or as, gigantic with options that Persona 5 is. However, if you've played Persona 4, this is extremely similar. Right up the same alley. But if you've only played Persona 5, yeah, it's just going to be, in a lot of ways, a step back. But it's also, in my opinion, somewhat more fun, because Persona 5, specifically Royal, is it's giving you so many options to cheese the game and make it so easy for yourself that this is going to give you an actual challenge. If you're a hardcore RPG player, this is going to be a little bit more challenging. Not saying it's going to be like an SMT game. It's not at all. It's not that kind of difficulty, but it's definitely a little bit harder than Persona. It's definitely harder than Persona 5. I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll enjoy the challenge. So when it comes down to it, if you don't own these games, buy the new one. If you do own it, only buy it again if you love it or need to because everything else broke. And yeah, save your money if you own these versions and they work perfectly. Save your money. Anyway, guys, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'm out.